Most burned out business owners are trying to solve the wrong problem. They think they need a vacation. They think they need to work less. They think they need to hire someone. And you know what? Maybe they do, but none of that matters until you figure out where the burnout actually is coming from. And that's because burnout isn't just one thing, it's a symptom. And symptoms don't have one cause. This week, I sat down with a client, professional service-based business, finance industry, 5 to 7 employees, and she handed me one of her focus sheets before our session. Motivation level, 1 out of 10. Perceived value from coaching, 5 out of 10. And she wrote me this long note to explain it. She wasn't complaining, but she really wanted to explain because she's a good operator, but she knew that something was wrong or something was off. She just couldn't find it. So that's what we did together. And I want to walk you through exactly how we found it, because I'd be willing to bet the same thing is happening in your business right now. Quick context, if this is your first time here. My name is Tanner Bryan. I'm a business coach, the CEO of Action Coach Central Texas. I work with small business owners who have revenue, who have a team, and are still completely trapped inside of their own business. And that's the problem that I solve. And burnout is one of the most common symptoms that I see, especially in owners who are doing it right by most measures. Listen, they have clients, they have people, they have something worth keeping. They're just running out of gas. So here's how I diagnose it. When a client tells me that they're burned out, I don't start with motivation. I don't start with mindset. I start with a simple framework, because burnout lives in traditionally one of 3 places. The first is the calendar. The second is going to be the organizational chart. And the third is going to be the offer. And until you find which one or which combination of these is driving the burnout, you're simply just guessing. Most people try to solve burnout as a whole, but that's just too big. It's too unsolvable at that level, especially if you're already feeling this crazy thing called burnout. You have to narrow it down to just one area and one thing that you can actually move and start there. So let me walk you through how I did that with my client this past week. Before every coaching session, I review the financials. And when I pulled out her profit and loss statement, before we sat down, one number jumped out immediately, 72%. That was the percentage of her monthly revenue going to payroll. Now, her pay is included in that, which does matter. She's paying herself, but that's not the problem. The problem is that 72 cents of every dollar that she brings in is going to labor costs. And when I look at her revenue, she's stuck. She wasn't declining, just stuck. So I asked her a simple question. If you double your revenue tomorrow, same team, same infrastructure, what breaks first? She didn't hesitate. Fulfillment. We couldn't handle it. So I'm looking at a business that can't grow because of its capacity, but the margins say that it shouldn't be at capacity. The team size says that it shouldn't be at capacity. Something wasn't adding up here. And that's when I knew that we needed to dig into the org chart a bit. So here's an exercise I want you to do right now. I want you to grab a piece of paper or open up your notes app, or if you're driving, just do this in your head. First, I want you to draw your org chart the way you see it, the way that it actually exists in your business today. I find that most owners, when they do this for the first time, they draw a box at the top with their name on it, and underneath they start to draw some of the people they have. Maybe it's a few roles, maybe it's a couple teams, but that tends to be about it. Now here's what I want you to draw next. I want you to draw a more traditional org chart. 6 departments, CEO at the top, then underneath, marketing, sales, operations, or the fulfillment side of the business, finance, team or HR, and IT. All 6 boxes. So here's what that looks like in practice. What I want you to draw is up here, write the little box that says CEO. Okay, put a little box around it. And then down from there, I want you to draw a little line, and we're going to start to kind of draw out the rest of it here. So over on kind of this left-hand side, I want you to write marketing. Then we're going to go sales. Then we're going to go operations. And you can call that fulfillment. It's really the doing of the work. Then we're going to add finance, HR or team, and then finally IT. Little boxes around each one of these here. Make it look as pretty as you want. Just like that. And then we're going to draw a simple line. Zoom out so we can kind of see all this here. Draw a simple line connecting all the way across and connect the lines through here. This is going to be your traditional org chart. All right, so as you continue to grow the business, heads of departments could be presidents, they could be vice presidents, they could be just heads of departments, or eventually will become your C-suite. So once you have this written down, now I want you to go through each one and write the name of the person who's responsible for that department. Essentially, who owns the result, okay? So what that looks like, my favorite thing to do is coming in and pick a little bit of a different color. You can really see what this looks like. So perhaps you're coming up here and you're writing CEO. Maybe that's for example, I'll put my name under it. All right, so maybe Tanner's the CEO. It's like, okay, well, who owns marketing? And I want you to put down a name. And then who owns sales? Well, I want to put down a name. And then I want you to put down who owns fulfillment or operations. Put down a name. You're going to go through this for each of the departments, okay? As you go through that process, fill in the additional pieces that you need to within the org chart. So in this case, when I'm working with my client, we were filling out a lot of operation stuff. So there was a head of fulfillment, or really a specific service. There was a team over here, team over here. There we go. And we had sales, and it was really just my client's name, right? And she started to fill this thing out. And this is the exercise I want you to go through, because I want you to put people's names next to it. So when you got team here, I want you to put. So when you've got team down here, I want you to put like actual names. Put name 1, name 2, right? And start going through and put everybody in there. And then go back and readdress the question that we did before of like, who owns each of these departments? Is it still the same person? So that's the exercise I want you to go through. So the goal here is to go through each of the departments and write the owner of each one. Not necessarily who helps, not who contributes, but who owns that result in the department. When my client did this exercise, something became immediately obvious. Her original org chart had operations in it, 5 to 7 employees, all within fulfillment. That was her whole mental picture of the business. But when she filled out the 6-department version, marketing, her name. Sales, her name. Operations, technically her team, but also her name. Finance, her name. HR and recruiting, her name. IT, her name. Every single box. I looked over and I said, no, if your name is in every single box here, it's not really any wonder why you might feel a little burned out. So now here's where it got interesting. Because it wasn't just that she was doing too many things. It was that she was doing the things she'd already hired people to do. Because when we went through each department, I asked her 2 questions. First, what in this area gives you the most energy? And then second, what in this area completely drains you? So she ended up listing out about 5 things that she genuinely enjoyed from all the departments. And then she listed out about 5, 6, 7 things that were just crushing her from all the different departments. And near the top of that drain list, client management, the ongoing day-to-day management of active clients, the realigning, the resetting of expectations, the chasing. And here's the thing, she had a team. She had hired people specifically to handle fulfillment with each client, to handle that client management aspect of it. But she was still doing a lot of it herself. So I asked her, why do you keep jumping in? And she thought about it for a second, and she said, I don't know if they can handle it. And that's what we found it. It wasn't that she didn't trust her team. It was that she didn't trust herself. Didn't trust herself enough to let go of something she's always had to own in the past. That's a very different problem. And frankly, it's a little bit more of a solvable one. So here's the framework I taught her. I call it the 10, 80, 10 rule. You come in for the first 10%. That's strategy, that's ideation, that's setup. That's the part that actually requires your brain and your experience. The team handles the 80% in the middle. That's the execution, the process, the work that needs to get done but doesn't necessarily need you to do it. And then you come back for the final 10%. That's the refinement, the final review, the delivery. That's your zone. That's where your value lives. For her, in a professional services based business, the first 10% looks a lot like getting on a client call, understanding what they need, and setting that overall direction. The 80% in the middle is the actual work that her team was hired to do. The last 10% then is reviewing, refining, making sure that the output matches the standard. And for a bit, she was doing pretty darn close to all 100% of this. And not only was she burning herself out, she was stealing growth from her team because they can't get good at the work if you keep doing it for them. They can't solve the problems if you don't give them the opportunity to do so. She was paying people to do a job and then doing it all herself and wondering why she was exhausted. Now, this framework isn't about disappearing. It's not about becoming hands-off and hoping for the best. It's about finding your 10 to 20% and protecting it. Because when you're in your 20%, you're at your best. When you're in somebody else's 80%, you're just expensive overhead. Now, here's the part that most people miss. Even after we addressed the delegation issue, there was still something broken underneath it that we need to resolve. Because fixing how she worked with her team would free up some time, but it wouldn't fix what was filling that time back up. So here's what was happening. She didn't have a defined offer, not really. She had a general service. She had a general idea of what was being sold, but every client had a custom proposal. Every engagement was slightly different. Every agreement was built from scratch, depending on what the client said they needed at the time of the sale, which sounds flexible. It sounds client-centered. It sounds like great service. It's not. What it actually is scope creep waiting to happen. That's exactly what was happening. Clients were growing, their needs were expanding, and because there was really no defined line around what the offer included, the team kept absorbing it. So this looks like more work, same money, no one having the sales conversation to reset the expectations in the agreement. And a lot of that had to do with fear that I might lose the client. And this is where I want to introduce you to something called client grading. So I want you to take out a piece of paper and I want you to write this down. Grade your clients A, B, C, and D. The A's are your best clients, okay? They pay on time, they trust your process, they see results, they refer people. They're an absolute joy to work with. B's, they're solid, okay? There's no real issues, they pay their bills. With the right nudge, they can become your A-level clients. C's are the ones you dread, right? These are slow to pay, they're high maintenance, they're low trust. It's a lot of work for a little bit of money. And your D's are gonna be dead weight. Get rid of them as fast as reasonably possible. Because here's the hard truth. When you're early in business and you need cash flow, you say yes to just about everyone. You have to. That's not a mistake. That's survival in the early days. But survival mode has an expiration date. Because if you stay in that too long, you end up fully booked with these C and D grade clients. Your team is maxed out, serving people who drain everyone's energy. Your margins are gone because you over-delivered to justify a price that they barely paid. And you can't take on the A clients, even when they show up, because you have no capacity. And that's where she was. Well, not fully, but trending in that direction. And the fix isn't just marketing. The fix starts with the offer itself. Define exactly what you sell. Define exactly what it includes. Define who it's sold to and who it's for. And when a client grows beyond that, have the sales conversation. It's not aggressive, that's professional. So here's where I want to leave you. Burnout has an address. It's not everywhere. Feels like everywhere, but it's not. Start with your calendar. Start with your org chart. Start with the offer. Pick one. Find the friction. Move just one thing. Because trying to solve burnout as a whole is like trying to fix a car by replacing everything at once. You don't need to overhaul the whole business. You need to find the one thing that's causing the most drag and remove it. For my client this week, it was the org chart. It was the realization that she was doing a lot of her team's job for them, and that the fix wasn't hiring more people, it was trusting the people she already had. And that's a decision that she can make today. So can you. So if this hits close to home, I encourage you to do the org chart exercise right now. 6 departments, 1 name per box, see what you find. As a reminder, my name is Tanner O'Brien, Senior Partner, CEO here at Action Coach in Central Texas. And if this resonated with you, if this is something that you want to take into the next level, I encourage you to join us for an upcoming workshop or join us for 2 weeks of free coaching with the team. Both are linked in the description below. Stay with us, continue to grow some amazing businesses, and can't wait to see what you accomplish in the near future.